oh, I know they have a 6-week-old too. I want to talk to them and to commiserate and be able to vent and say like, no one gets this, but you get this. That was a really big connection point that I wouldn't have had if it wasn't for social media.
Welcome to the Team Look and Fit Roundtable. I'm your host, Lauren Conlon. Each week, we share the evidence-based practices and communication-driven strategies we use with our clients to help you look, feel, and perform your best. I am joined by Coach Sam in person.
Yeah.
And I'm so excited for this episode.
I do.
So we came up with this, like loosely, this idea when we did the Body Image podcast. Yeah. And then we wanted to ask a lot of different questions, but we were like, how do we encompass this into like one topic? But we ended up settling on navigating online interactions, because I really think that that kind of encompasses all of these things. Because it wasn't just one question we had in particular, or, you know, if you guys listened to the social media episode, you know, it wasn't just about that. I mean, that's a big part of it, but only one piece. So we took some polls, we got some questions or question responses, and y'all, buckle up. Buckle up. And this is just really insightful stuff. And I think not only was this fun to like get, market research, but we're going to obviously use this in a productive way. Part of it will just be fun, like sharing the stories. Yeah. But I think there's good lessons in here.
Oh, absolutely. I think people are going to find a lot of like commonalities when they read this.
And that's actually one of the things that is on here. Like, what do you like about social media? And it is like, you know, normalizing like my life or my struggles, or finding other people who are like me. So this will be interesting, and hopefully, for the last part with the dating app horror stories, you don't find people like this.
Oh gosh.
Good God. Y'all, I was like mortified. At first, like things, you know, when you put up a question box, it's always when you need something, nobody says anything, right? Or when you're like, oh, question box, and then you get really busy and you have all this like good, juicy stuff and you like can't answer it because you're like, your day gets away from you. But at first, like things weren't really coming in. I'm like, oh, I've fed off social, so like maybe people want to see my stuff. And then the good stuff started rolling in, and I was like, oh,
floodgates open.
Oh shit. Okay, so first, just really simple. Which app do you use the most? And we polled Team Page, our page, or Team Page and both of our pages, and Instagram was number one, like by a fucking landslide.
On every one of them.
Every one of them. And we asked YouTube, podcasts, which somebody was like, I don't really think podcasts are social media, and I was like, they're technically not, but I feel like they could be also. You know, like I feel like they're a form of social media.
Well, and when we're talking about where you're getting information online in a
digital,
shorter, in a digital way. I see what you're coming from. Yeah,
it's not interactive,
right?
But I do think that it's still a type of media that we're consuming that is social in nature. I'm not really sure. But okay, so podcasts, TikToks, and that could maybe be our audience. Facebook, Twitter. We pulled all of them. Maybe that's just our audience or the age of our audience, but Instagram.
And because it was on Instagram.
On exactly. Instagram. If we maybe asked them on a different platform, it obviously would have been a little bit different.
Yeah.
And then what was interesting was, what's your favorite?
I think it's for what purpose they're serving. So like I prefer YouTube for entertainment education. I prefer YouTube and podcasts. For connection, if I probably would say Instagram, but I don't, as we will see here, what people are actually using these apps for. I don't know if I would necessarily follow with the majority there, but I would say YouTube and Instagram.
Okay.
How about you?
I would say, if we're including podcasts, I would say podcasts and Instagram for sure.
Yeah.
Those are really my two main like forms of consumption. It's also what I like to put out, obviously hence the podcast. Clearly we know that I do not like reels and like stuff like that. It's just first of all, I fucking hate dancing. So that's why I really don't like reels and TikToks. Let's be honest. I'm not good at lip syncing over things apparently. I'm never going to be an actress. Like there's a lot of layers. But I love that people can be creative on those. It's just not for me. But so definitely Instagram and podcasts. So what types of content do you engage with most is what in a some type of way we asked. And on mine, it was podcasts and long form content. Then it was memes and like humor based content. Then infographics. Then reels and TikToks, which is interesting because everybody's like, oh my God, do reels, do TikToks, do all this stuff. And again, this could be my audience bias, right? Like the people who are on my page, maybe that's what they're looking for. But also it did say, what do you engage with the most? So maybe they're seeing it, but they're not really engaging with it. Maybe they're more engaging, like, oh, that's a good podcast topic, let me click on it. Or that's a funny thing, like, let me engage with that. So that could also be like where people are coming from when they say like, what content do you engage with the most? I'm not sure. But would you agree? I know you like TikToks.
I do, but I think you're onto something with the term engage because it's so passive. Like TikToks, reels, you're just scrolling. You're
really just consuming.
Exactly. You're not engaging with anything.
And then this was, okay, so we both asked this question, but in a different way and said, what do you use social media for? And your most common response was distraction, followed by entertainment. And then mine was a 3-poll series. And number 1 was entertainment, then education, and then keeping up with current events. So, okay, good job, guys. We're not getting our news from social media. But actually, that's also a thing. Like, the fucking news, like, who's actually watching that? I mean, it's a horror show. Anytime I see the news for like 2 minutes, my skin is like, I feel like I'm bleach in my eyes and my skin is crawling. I'm like, oh my God.
Stomach,
Like it's so horrifying. Like, and now obviously social media accounts can be just as bad, you know what I mean? But there are I found a lot of unbiased ones that are pretty great. Or at least you're definitely seeing things reported on way quicker than you would in a traditional media source, which is interesting. So, I don't know. It's not, I don't open up my Instagram and I'm like, let me get my daily dose of news here. But I do follow some news accounts. Smart Her News is really great. FYI, I've talked about her. Yeah. She has a website as well with like full length articles and whatever. But the reporting is very just unbiased, non-biased. Both. Just very neutral, just kind of like reporting of like what's going on. So I would definitely recommend that page. She's awesome. But yeah, so clearly we're seeing a trend here where people are really enjoying like memes and humor and entertainment and all of that.
But isn't that interesting to think that people want to engage with podcasts? Yeah. And they want all that, but they're not looking to it for education or news. They're just looking for it for entertainment, which to be entertained, a lot of the time it's the passiveness. And my number 1 was the distraction. And what it also said was, I think it said like passive something. It was like just passive consumption. And that was the number 1. So it's like it's so interesting the differences there. Yeah,
I'm like, is everybody like lying to themselves? And they're answering how they want to answer. But maybe it's also the way that we ask the questions. Maybe it was confusing to people. But it does seem that 2 trends are emerging. People like to be entertained. They want to see funny things. And then they also want to like learn something, and presumably from a podcast. So that's exciting. I'll be honest, when I did take my break, that was one of the things that I missed the most, was like, there's a few meme pages that I follow. And I had people like, I was like, send me the games memes. Like, he has the best account on Instagram. If y'all aren't following that, like, get ready.
That's what we all missed you for too, is sending memes back and forth. Like, how many people commented like, yes, I can finally send you memes again.
Like, it is, people send them, like they text me them, but it's so much harder to screenshot text versus just hit the little arrow. And then there's some people that I literally communicate with on social media, like primarily just through like sharing funny stuff. You know what I mean? So it is a great thing for that, you know what I mean? That was one thing that I did actually miss amidst all of the other garbage that there is on there. I did miss like the humor aspect of it. And I will say there are some comedians who do really great like podcasts, like who are funny as fuck. But that's an investment, you know, like you're listening to something that's 30 minutes or an hour, whereas you can just find like a funny meme, like nothing replaces a good meme.
No,
like, there's always a meme for something, at least in my opinion. We didn't really expand on this, and I wish I would have asked more. But has an influencer influenced you to buy something? And 89% of your following said yes. So I would imagine that it's probably going to be pretty similar. Let's just be conservative. Maybe it's only like 80%, right? But I do think that that is one great thing about social media. And obviously I know there's some people who are like, oh, I always feel like I'm being sold something. But at the same time, it's like, wouldn't you want to hear about like a good product or a good service? Like that's where I've gotten so much good stuff, or not gotten stuff because of a review. And now you have to know the person. Are they honest? And you know, whatever. But I like to think if I'm sharing something that it's like, people are like, oh, okay, it's because she like actually likes it. I'm not going to share something for the sake of sharing it. Or I'm going to share it with the pretext of like, just got this, going to see how I like it, or, you know, just bought this or whatever. But usually when I share something, and you do that too, with like, you know, Should I Love Sundays? And like, you're not sharing stuff that you're like, oh, this kind of sucks. Like, no, like you're sharing it because you like it.
Or if it's bad, I'll tell you, like, I'll share that it's bad. Like, exactly. And I think there's a lot of value in the fact that people are putting this stuff out there, because then let's say you are looking for something. You can search that item now, and you have all of these reviews based on, you know, like you said, who do you want to listen to, who do you trust, and you can actually get that information before going and buying it yourself and being like, well, like now I have to try it to know. Well, you don't have to spend that money, you don't have to go through the rigmarole, you can just look it up first, and it might still not work for you, that's totally possible, but at least that resource is there that wasn't there before. And
just like recommendations for stuff too, like I love getting recommendations for people like of different, you know, places or, you know, cities and traveling and food and restaurants and all this different stuff. And it's like, now I try to like share that stuff too with people, because I go a lot of places and I'm like, oh, okay, hey, you going here? Like, I got a place, like, you know what I mean? Like, and that's like one of my new favorite things to do is just like try different restaurants, different bars and whatever. And I love sharing that with people, because there's nothing worse than going somewhere and being like let down with with like food or drinks, especially if you're like in a cool place and you don't like know anything. I will just go out and explore. I don't care. Like when I was in Colorado Springs, I was like, I have 0 recommendations here, and I'm just gonna go and find stuff. And I did. And then like one place would lead to another, and then I would like ask, you know, whenever you're somewhere and you don't know, always ask a good bartender. Like if you're like, you know, vibing with them and like they seem like legitimate, some of the best recommendations come from those people, because they're in the service industry, obviously. So they are like, they have a much deeper like understanding and experience than like most people do. So I usually will always ask bartenders like, hey, like, where would you recommend here for this? Some of my favorite stuff has like come from that, just because like I've asked somebody else, or somebody works in a hotel and like they seem like, you know, you're getting along, you're having a good conversation. Hey, somewhere you'd recommend around here? And then you can look and see yourself. But yeah, I love doing that, and I think that it's, you know, nobody wants to have a bad meal. So like, well, and
to
let down
with the influencer thing, I think it's funny because we joke about that term a lot, like because you're kind of an influencer, whether you want to know it or not. You kind of are.
Horrified.
No, but I know it shows that it works though, right? Like if these people are actually influenced to buy things, then that there's credence behind the term. It's not just like it has become like a annoying term because like. I'm an influencer.
But even the joking, like the wine influencer thing that I say that I do, but like literally people are like, oh my gosh, like thanks so much, that was a great recommendation, like I got this and I loved it and whatever.
And there's nothing wrong with influencing people, and a lot of time like you're doing it in a great way. There's a lot of people doing it in a great way. There's people doing it in a bad way. But I think
people, well, maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like a lot of people are starting to wake up to like bad influencing. Influencing, or they can see through it, you know, like you know, again, that's part of like, you have to build an audience and build credibility. So like, if I were to say something like, if somebody were to trust me, they're going to say, okay, like Lauren vouched for this, like it's going to be good.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, it's going to, like if it's something like clothing, well, it's got to fit me and how
Mm-hmm.
like I like clothes to fit. So it's not going to always be like this universal thing.
Right.
But I'm still going to say, hey, this is what I like about it. This is what I don't like about it. And this is my favorite piece or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong with influencing. I think you just have to, when you're following somebody and you're being influenced, that's where you have to say, okay, is this person credible? Do I trust them? There's some people who like, I always joke about Chanel, like literally if she's like, hey, get this, I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Like, because she's like the best salesperson and like I trust her opinion and she's so brutally honest. So it's like, okay, yeah, got it.
Yeah.
Yep, bought it. Thanks, Chanel. Always influencing me. Influenced me by this, which I am so pleased. Wasn't really an influence. She just had it. And then I was like, well, this is really cute. And I've been wanting to get this. So where did you buy that?
I saw Chanel wearing a jean jacket, so I went and bought a jean jacket.
No, I don't know like what this is considered. If you guys can't see, I'm wearing like this like cropped jean jacket, which I'm very particular about crop length. And this is like the perfect length.
Yeah.
It's not too short, it's not too long. And then it also has like just a fabric for like the sleeves and like the hood. So it's
like
more
a
like
sweatshirt?
a sweatshirt.
Yeah.
I've wanted like a two-tone one forever and I just couldn't find one. And now I did. Vici.
That's awesome.
Vici. All right. How would you say social media leaves you feeling most of the time? Your poll said not so great, 58% of the time.
Mm-hmm.
And then I asked a similar but different question. Do you feel more or less connected after using social media? And less than was 76% of the time.
It's a lot.
Yeah. So we're getting a lot of negative feels and a lot of disconnect.
Mm-hmm.
And I really want to ask the people who said more connected, like, how are you guys feeling this way? Because like I certainly, well, I guess it depends, right? Because if you say it's like your family or whatever, and you live different places and you want to see their stuff, that's not how I would connect with anybody personally, but some people do that, right? Like that's how they find connections when they're like distant from people, or like they kind of feel like they know what's going on in the world. I don't care about that either. So for me, I'm like, I feel less connected. Like I feel so connected with like people when I'm with people.
Yeah.
And obviously, once you have a relationship with someone, I think it's easy to maintain it online, right? Like we have a relationship, so it's easy. Like if we text or we send each other stuff, like that's not like that doesn't feel really any different.
Building a connection.
Yeah, because we already have
it.
Yeah, I think that that's different. You know what I mean? Versus like if you're only building, and also because we know, hey, we're gonna see each other in a few weeks, or we're gonna do this together. So we have things that we are doing in person, and then that relationship is strengthened in person, and then we're able to kind of continue to build it versus like only being online with people. I feel like that's such a struggle.
Yeah. Oh yeah. But
at least for me.
I think so. I think that maybe in the times that we live in, so people are so isolated that this was the only way to connect for a long time. And so that could be part of it. And I'll say being like a mom fresh out of a postpartum period, that is the most isolating thing I've ever been through. And to have the opportunity to connect with people who have gone through that I wouldn't have had otherwise, that was really powerful because no one can relate to what you're going through except for the people who are truly going through it. And I would say almost people who are going through it at the same time as you, because you forget. Like even I have a 6-month-old now and I look back and I'm like, I can't hardly remember what that was like because it's such a fog and it's such a messy period. But when you're in that and you have the ability to be like, oh, I know they have a 6-week-old too, I want to talk to them and to commiserate and to talk, literally like to just like be able to vent and say like, no one gets this, but you get this. That was a really big connection point that I wouldn't have had if it wasn't for social media. Now, would I say I feel like that now when I go on social media? No, I don't. It makes me feel worse, probably. I'm with the majority there. But I do see how you could say yes, especially like, with things like quarantine, which are still happening all over the world, and things like being, isolated or far away from your family. Like I've had that period too. But on the whole, I don't know.
Yeah, I felt great. I did feel like slightly disconnected from like what was going on, right? Because like people would be like, "Oh my God, did you see or hear about it?" I'm like, "No," but I also like living like that. Yeah. So I'm very like
extroverted too, though, where you can connect with people really easily. And I think a lot of people lost that skill, and now it's easier to be able to send a DM than to
Oh my gosh.
Call somebody.
Dude, that's what, I mean, I talked about this on the episode, but I'm so happy that I did that 3-week travel, and particularly that 1 week like solo trip in Colorado Springs when I didn't have social media, because even though I am super extroverted, obviously, and I do go out of my way to talk to people and I do things like go on trips alone, there's always that kind of safety blanket, you know what I mean? That like, oh, if I'm sitting here and it's kind of quiet, I can just pull my phone out. And then if you have your phone out, who's going to really engage with that person? Versus I'm just sitting at a bar, I'm grabbing a drink or I'm grabbing food, and then I start talking to the bartenders, or I start talking to the person next to me, or usually them talking to me, and then I can continue the conversation. And sometimes I'm like, oh, this is weird, but this is interesting, you know what I mean? And then like just going out of your way to like speak to people on a daily basis is so powerful. Like, and they appreciate it too. Like people appreciate when you're like, oh, you just make eye contact and you say something nice. And I think that is definitely a skill that is lost if you don't use it. But I really encourage people to do that, especially like, I don't know, the young kids.
Well, that's that distraction passiveness too, of how it can become a safety blanket for blocking that connection. It can become a safety blanket from your emotions. It can...
If you don't want to feel something, you just distract yourself. And then you're not able to actually express that. And it's already hard enough to fucking express your emotions, let alone when you have something that's distracting you 24/7. And like it's so hard, even if you're completely like clear mind, level head, like it's still hard to process things, let alone when you have something that's completely clouding your vision and you can just look at this for 30 minutes and completely forget about what you needed to go over. Scary shit. But
this leads to how...
this leads to, in one word, describe your relationship with social media. So I'm just going to read a few. I bet you guys can guess the most common one.
Addicted.
This was on your page. That was so many people said addicted.
It was every other answer.
Yeah, basically. Overwhelmed, bittersweet, meh, passive, unhealthy, helpful, educational, distraction, connected, inadequate, toxic, zone out. Like, these are so different responses. It's like such different responses. Cautious, monotonous, inspiring, consuming, despise it, humbling. Like, that's like every emotion. And it's so interesting that like everybody is feeling a different way. But addicted was the most common one. And I think a lot of the other words are like symptoms of being addicted to something like like social media.
Overwhelmed.
Overwhelmed, toxic, zoning out, like those types of things, distracted, consuming, like those are all words of addiction. So no matter what it is, and I know we talk about addiction a lot on the show, but like a lot of people, they think of certain addictions as being very like in your face, and we understand those, like drug addiction, alcohol addiction, and then other things like social media or shopping or whatever are so innocuous. Like, oh yeah, I'm just on my phone. Caffeine, or online gaming, and so that can be really innocuous to somebody, or it can also literally, they can gain 100 pounds, they never leave their house, they lose relationships, they drop out of school, like that. They don't have a job. Like that's a real trajectory for somebody. And who's to say it's not going to be gaming and it could be something else? We had this conversation last night, but like all of those words are stemming from somebody who does feel like they need it, and they can't really be without it, unfortunately. And that leads to how has it negatively impacted you? And the two most common things that we saw were comparison and time wasting. And I'm going to read some of my responses because I asked, what's your mental state? Like, how is your mental state affected by these apps? And I'm very, like, I do want to share these because some of them were really, really heartfelt. And I think it's important for people to hear this. Again, to understand, like, you're not alone in this. But before we get too doomsday, let's have a positive. Social media is positively impacting. Like, we're just going down the rabbit hole.
We're gonna go down, but then the dating stories are gonna bring us back up. So
it's
okay.
It's gonna end on a funny note. Some of these shit was not funny, but so positively impacting you. Themes of like connection, education, realizing I'm not alone, finding great products. And this is Sam's audience, not my audience. I had some weird fucking responses on my stuff. She was reading poetry. That's a great one. Seeing other people's families grow. So cute and touchy. Expanding my views and ideas. I love that one. And I do think, and you brought up a good point. You're like, oh, well, social media can be an echo chamber. And it can, but it also can show you different things that do challenge you. I think I'm such a skeptic of everything. Unless I've bought into somebody or something, I'm always like, where's the angle? Where's this? Like, where's this coming from? What's the source? Like, what's the like? I'm like that as a person. So when I see things, I'm not necessarily like, oh, I'm gonna change my belief, because I don't know where this is coming from or what angle somebody's taking with it. But it can still prompt me to go, that's interesting. Maybe I'm going to look into this more. Or, wow, that's a really interesting way of saying it. I wouldn't have said that or said it that way. Like, I like that. Or, wow, I really don't like that. You know what I mean? So I do think it can be an echo chamber if you make it that way. But I do think that if you are willing to follow people, right, who present a lot of ideas, you can actually learn a lot. Especially, I mean, we're going to use podcasts as a type of social media. I mean, podcasts are the best way, in my opinion, to do that, because you can hear somebody talk, not just for a short snippet or a short little picture or a caption. You're getting to hear somebody explain themselves, essentially, or why they agree with something or why they don't, and their stance, and then you can make your, opinion or feelings based off of that.
Yeah, and I think that's totally up to the individual, right? Like, and it's so funny because all of this makes me think of the Bo Burnham special Inside, and there's a song called Welcome to the Internet, and it says it did all the things we designed it to do. And this is all by design. The addiction, the making you feel inadequate so that you seek the things that will make you feel adequate, that will never make you feel adequate, that then keep you coming back for more, that keep you addicted. And the same thing goes with the echo chamber, right? Like, if you're following all the similar accounts, you're liking all of the similar things, it's going to show you more of the similar things. And that's
in a positive or a negative way.
In a positive or negative way, exactly. And so being able to be aware of that as an individual, that like, I need to be seeking these things out or else I'm not going to get it. Like, you're not going to get different things unless you do look for them. And it's awesome to hear that people are doing that.
Yeah, that is really promising that was on there. So like, super excited about that. And then this one was just touching. It said, Redefine Healthy Radio led me to follow Lauren, which led me to follow you, which is Sam, which led me to hire you as a coach, which I was like, oh, that's the cutest story. So I was very pleased to share that one. But how is your mental state affected by these apps? And I'm pulling up my phone so I can read some of these. And they're all over the board too, right? I'm not going to read every single one of them, but all over the board. Extremely negatively. I think because I'm older, I use it for entertainment, and my self-worth isn't bothered by it. It stresses me out. Self-critical. My anxiety and depression are always up when I'm immersed online. Terribly. Not at all. Like, literally the total opposite. It's really fucked some days. It's not affected. I use social media for inspiration and to stay connected with people and to learn more about fitness. It's hard. I have a hard time being grateful for what I currently have and being present. I notice I feel a lot better when I take breaks. Probably the main cause of my body dysmorphia and depression. I hate myself in the way that I look. Like, literally, I just want to cry, like, reading that. You know what I mean? Like, oh my gosh. Comparison is high, and on low productivity weeks, it causes imposter syndrome to be even higher. I tend to be too hypercritical looking at other competitors. I'm too dependent on it for a dopamine release. That depends. I find myself mindlessly scrolling Facebook and Instagram, which I don't like. However, there's other tools like WebEx, Teams, Loom that I love to use to connect with others. Used to be negative until I learned to use it more intentionally. I like that one. Nope. Right? Like, there's just
not at
all these things. Depends on how I have it filtered, right? So like who you follow and all that. I feel like it becomes what you surround yourself with, so that can alter my mental state.
Yeah.
Struggle with contentedness and comparison. Never know who I'm going to be influenced by. I zone out. Almost feel like I'm numb when I'm on it for too long. I deleted a bunch of fitness accounts because it was making me feel fat. It's a nice way to connect with my friends who are far away, and I learn a lot for free, so it's a good deal. Triggered, but that can offer personal insight of where I need to put in more work. Really like that one, because that is very true. I'm indifferent. I'm normal. Depends on who I follow. I'm addicted. I need a break like you took one. Most of the time I get inspired by others, but sometimes my mind gets lost on these apps. like all these, disappointed in time lost, but definitely other useful and entertaining things on there. Not great. Increase in anxiety, stresses me out. I hate these apps. I feel guilty when I'm mindlessly scrolling. The comparison, like all these themes. There's so many on here. Makes me feel like I'm a broke, fat underachiever. Trash when it comes to self-worth, but amazing for connections and resources. Right? So it's like every like experience that you could be having on here, but the themes I really think are definitely the comparison, whether you want to call that like imposter syndrome or just like I'm not X, I'm broke, I'm fat, I'm not like this person, I don't have that. But I really, really liked how that one person said like it can be triggering, but that makes me like want to like look at what I need to do work on. And I think that's really important, and that kind of goes back to the like expanding your views and ideas. It's not just about, it could be views about yourself, it could be views about other things. And I think that when you are upset about something, that is a really good time to be like, well, why am I upset about this? You know, like, and there has to be a reason. You know what I mean? I was listening, I don't remember who said this, but basically it was something along the lines of like, when you recognize that you're jealous about something, that's actually what you want. Or like, you know, you maybe haven't like told yourself that you want that, but you're like, oh, that person has this, like, and you know, you think that you're so jealous of it, or you kind of mock it, or you look at it like in a negative way, but like really it's probably because like you're feeling that tinge of like, I want that.
Or what you dislike in others is typically what you dislike in yourself.
Oh yeah. Like
shadow, is that shadow word? That's not shadow word. It feels like reflective.
Shadow word is complicated. But Yoon, could you just come back from the dead for like, you know, people are always like, oh, who do you want to hang out with who's a dead person? Fuck Carl Jung. Like, oh man, that'd be great. I'd be all about it.
Well,
gotta brush up on my German because I know like 4 words now. But
Milk. I knew that. I knew that one. Yeah, good job.
Yay! Oh my god, I can go to Germany now.
Milk.
I was gonna even fucking drink milk. You're like, what?
Why do you? Oh, your app. You do
Duolingo. Yeah.
That's another one that you get addicted to. You said that.
Oh my gosh. So yeah, they fucking nail it, right? So addiction is very complicated, but when we're talking about like visual things that you become addicted to, whether it's like a lot of people get addicted to like these little games on their phone, right? They're like, why the fuck am I addicted to this? I gotta make a farm or like launch this thing. Like, why do I care about this? And it comes down to like the colors and the movement and whatever. And like Duolingo is a language app. And literally like when you get it right, it, like as soon as you press like your answer, it like makes a noise. And then if you get it right, they like dance and they're all happy. If they get it wrong, they like make like a boo kind of sound or like whatever. They look unhappy. So like this very visual feedback. And it's always like doing that with like the colors and the changing, everything's animated. And it's like, oh my God, like even this fucking language app, like, I guess there's worse things to be addicted to than trying to learn German, but it's like, why am I on here now for all this time? Like, I wanted to be on here for 5 minutes. But one good thing about at least Duolingo, or at least me, is when I'm on it for too long, there is an immediate feedback loop that I'm just getting things wrong. And then that's my cue to, okay, I need to leave because I'm no longer learning anything. My processing is going very, very far down. So that's like a really good mechanism, but there is no mechanism for that for like other social media because you're technically, there's no barrier to entry. You're just
they're scrolling on our show.
So those were very upsetting to read, but I wanted to share a lot of those, especially like the kind of sad ones, because again, I think it's important for people to recognize like, all right, maybe you're thinking that you're the only person who's scrolling through and feeling inadequate, but a lot of people are. And
that's a really important thing to recognize when we're talking about comparison, because so many people said that comparing themselves to other people online was making them feel bad. Look at all the people who are saying that. Those are probably people that you are comparing yourself to. You're comparing yourself to that person who's also feeling bad because they're comparing themselves to someone else. And it's just this cycle. And I think that can probably help you break out of that a little bit. And same thing with the like, just to add in a personal story with the feeling triggered and setting boundaries and stuff, I think that absolutely, yes, it can show you things that you need to work on in yourself. And that's a really good point. But I think it can too show you what you don't need to see right now. Like for me, it's newborn babies. I had such a like for me, a hard time during my son's newborn period. I cannot see people's newborn babies, because they're going to show the good things. They're going to show the happy babies. And I didn't have a happy baby, and we had a really, really hard time. And it makes me so sad to see that, because I feel like I missed out on this thing. And so it's constantly like showing me like, this is what you didn't get, this is what you didn't get. And it's that comparison for me in a different way. And so I can't see it right now. And so I mute people. And it's important to remember you have that control. You can mute things when they consistently come up, but being cognizant of what that feeling is, which is hard to do, especially when you're on there. Is it jealousy? Is it something I could work on? Or is it something that I just can't handle right now?
And the one other thing people talked about on there was like kind of like that setting boundaries and being more intentional. And I think that's a big lesson that we can all take from this, is that we're all sucked in on this in some different way, right? And obviously there's a lot of positive things. Like there's so many people who just reported all these positive things, right? So it's not all doom and gloom, like I'm making it seem. And I always try to preface it with that, like when people ask me, because I've started talking about this more, you know what I mean? And people like, oh my God, like you look at this so negatively. And it's like, that's just my view, you know what I mean? And there's a lot of positive stuff, you know what I mean? And I'm aware of that, but like, this is also like how my view of it is. Just like I have a really positive experience when I talk about traveling or going places and talking to people, and other people have a very different experience with that, you know? So it's all just kind of like our own experiences. But I think that being intentional, regardless of if you're having a great time on this app or you're having a fucking awful time, being intentional with your use, I think is just really important regardless. And I think that's a really big takeaway that we can all have. And I think that everybody could probably be a little bit better at moderating themselves. Like, let's be honest.
Oh yeah.
But drum roll.
Like
the Christmas Vacation.
I still haven't seen that. I told you this last Christmas. Don't act surprised.
So disappointed.
I'll watch it on the plane ride back, because
all
the Christmas movies are coming out already.
Okay.
I'm on it.
Let's say we could watch it, but we're gonna watch The Ugly Truth, which is my favorite movie.
What was I supposed to do? Watch it in friggin' January?
I don't know.
If you can see the shit, if you're not watching this, you need to watch it just to see the death glare that Lauren is giving me. Your eyes are completely vacant. She's so dead inside. So dead inside. Even more so than usual.
Even more so than usual. Okay, so drum roll, which they do in everybody else besides you has probably seen fucking Christmas Vacation. But we asked a question: have you online dated before, either currently or previously? Your poll said 64% no. My poll said 52% yes. I was very, very evenly split, you know what I mean? And I think that probably means that people have tried it before. Maybe they're not currently on them, but they have. And I said, give me your horror stories, or really any kind of just like interesting story, you know what I mean? Just as, you know. And again, not going to read all these because there's a lot, and some are... I'm not going to read them on here, but I'm definitely going to read some juicy ones. We had either, again, very split. Either I love them, I met my significant other of this many years, or I'm married to this person. I went on one day, like first match, second match, and you know, fell in love, been there for 8 years. Or, whoa, got a custom sweater knitted by her grandma on the second date. Okay.
I wonder if you took it. Or she? Did they take the sweater? Do they have the sweater?
Are you wearing it?
Are you listening? Do you have the sweater?
Are you wearing it right now?
I'm going to ask a lot of questions, and I would love.
Oh my God! I know.
Love commented answers back.
Bro. So remember, this is dating apps. So the guy I met up ended being the creepy friend in the corner of the pictures, not the guy in the front of them. Like, whoa! Like you're like the person who has like half their face in the photo. Like that's
is
not
that catfishing?
Acceptable. I don't know, but that is just unacceptable.
I think that's catfishing.
Kinda, yeah. Especially that the person, like, it was clearly like not a. Also, why would you have a group photo on a dating app ever? Like,
I don't know.
That should.
I hope he had more than one picture too, and he was like in the background of all of them. And it was just like, you know, you should have picked it out, but you didn't.
God. A woman found out where I lived and sat outside my house. This is before we ever talked about a date.
Okay. Did you go on a date?
Like, probably not. There was definitely a few where it was like, you know, this person like matched with similar person or the same person and then like ended up like fighting over it and like losing a friendship. And you're like, oh my God, that's so dramatic. I once drove 2 hours to have to pay for dinner and then asked if I was putting out. how to not get laid 101.
Yeah,
Literally. Yeah, it's either like that or like, oh, I've had great experiences. Oh, met my, husband. Da, da, da. Guy asked me to pay for his coffee on his first date and then asked for a second. Hey.
No.
I met a chick on Bumble, went on about 3 dates with her, then I realized I had arrested her dad.
Oh my God.
Tinder date with a horse girl who literally talked about horses for 2 hours. I feel attacked.
It was actually a date with Lauren. It was Lauren.
Okay, I do love horses, but I would not talk about them for 2 hours. Probably just because I don't have a horse right now, so...
Would it be 3-4 hours?
But yeah, that'd be just a few hours. Girl asked if she could pee on me. She was 12 miles away, so I said, if you have that kind of range, go for it. A guy brought an overnight bag to a first date. ... There was a second date. There was no second date. Sorry. There was no second date. I totally moved that.
No, that actually makes it funnier because if she was like, there was a second date, she's like, he came ready to go.
Yeah. I had a guy who couldn't stop talking about how rich his parents were. Ugh. Gross.
It's just cringe.
Oh, this one is my favorite one, but I'm going to save it for the last one. Once met a guy, and I don't know anything about hunting, so this could be totally normal. Or this person is Jeffrey Dahmer. Once met a guy who was really into hunting, went over for dinner, had a freezer full of squirrels. Is that common? Is that not?
I don't think so. Squirrels? Okay. Maybe like deer meat, but like squirrels?
Okay. I had a guy watch himself play pickleball on YouTube on my TV for hours. Hey.
No.
My father-in-law is on it. He refers to it as the meat line. So many layers.
No.
So many layers.
I had one, a girl said the guy she dated, or went on a couple dates with, was 26 and had never had a first kiss. And he was too nervous to initiate it, so I think she said on like their third date, she kissed him, and she said, well, that was like pulling teeth, and then never heard from him again. So, yeah.
He came to the date drunk and then said he would take me to Red Lobster with a gift card from his grandma.
Oh, that was... Get those Cheddar Bay biscuits, babe.
Yeah. All right, this is interesting. I don't know what I left someone at a movie after he bought us tickets because he looked really different in person. Like kind of like a catfish situation, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. Honestly, it depends on the movie.
Yeah,
right? If it's like a movie I'm really trying to see, I'm fucking going. You know what I mean? Like it's like the new Matrix, I'm fucking in. I don't care who you look like, who you catfish me for. Yeah. We're watching it.
I'm probably too nice to leave.
Yeah. I would also
I probably should. But there's so many of these situations I listen to and I'm like, I would have been so fucked. I would have just been like, okay. Do you want to buy your coffee?
I went on a date with a guy who told me at dinner that Hitler was his hero. I proceeded to chug wine, told him I had diarrhea, and ran out the door.
That's the best out. What is he supposed to say to that?
What are you supposed to say to that also?
No, she said the right thing. She did the right thing. But he can't stop her if that's the
what
case.
The fuck? Alright, here was my favorite from the question box. A guy told me he was scared to show me his penis because it was monster can size. Then he sent me a photo of his penis next to a monster can. So I'm assuming that it was comparable.
Did she put some emojis?
Yeah, it was like the wide eye like emoji, like 10 of those. So I'm assuming that it was on point. Because also, why would you can't say that and then send the photo and it doesn't match.
Here's the thing about that situation. That man had to have monster cans there and had that comparison already locked and loaded. So like, I just can imagine how many times he's thrown that out there and he's just got to make sure he always has a monster can for his dick pics.
Always ready. Or he just recycles photos, which, a lot of
that's true.
People
that's
do
true.
That. I got 2 more. One time a girl came over to my place for the first time meeting and we hooked up. She was the one initiating things, etc., etc. Next morning I didn't text her and she threatened me and my family, told me that she'd wait outside our house and that I'd better watch my back. And then the finale. Woman I met gave me serial killer vibes. I ended it after a few weeks. We exchanged normal photos, not nudes. I guessed my location services were turned on my camera. She knew my address and threatened to come to my home in the middle of the night and kill me. Guess I was right. Bitches be crazy. And guys are dumb.
Oh my God.
Imagine knowing someone for a few weeks and telling them you're going to come to their house and kill them.
That's terrifying. That is terrifying.
Also, yeah, actually horrifying. Bro.
And to end on a happy note, we did have lots of people say that they got married from the app.
Yes.
I don't know how to tell you how to distinguish between.
Yeah, well, if you get serial killer vibes, I mean, maybe you might be into that, which is definitely a thing. But
if you're not, run.
Dude. Yeah, that was so insightful. I was so pleased with those responses, and I feel horrible for those people who had to deal with those things. But man, that was some great entertainment. So you guys really gave us some laughs. I really appreciate it. That was not educational whatsoever, but that was entertaining. And per everybody's polls, y'all want to be entertained.
We're giving you what you want.
So should we do more entertaining podcasts? Because I'm down for that.
Yeah.
I don't know if people think that I'm funny or have a good sense of humor, but I laugh at a lot of things, and I find this to be incredibly enjoyable.
Yeah.
So, yeah, maybe we mix in some more ridiculousness, but that's already trademarked by Talk to Your Dick. But
and it's on 24/7 if you've ever been on cable TV.
Really?
Oh, it's like literally MTV is the ridiculousness channel now. Swear to God, it's all day long.
Isn't there like wouldn't there be one episode like a day? Or it's just reruns?
No, it's just reruns all day long. You go, yep. My parents have cable, and every time you go to the menu,
I didn't know it was that popular.
I don't think it is. I just don't think they have anything else to share.
They're like, fuck, we can't bring music videos back. Nobody's talked shit about this for years.
No one's watching our channel.
They should totally. I fucking love music videos. Every time there's like, if somewhere where there's music video, like, I'll watch that.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not gonna like, that's not what I'm searching YouTube for all the time, but like, I enjoy a good music video. Like, that was such a good idea to like have music videos on TV. Like, I don't know why, like, why do they not have that?
Bring it back.
Bring it back.
Start a petition.
I'm sure there already is one.
Let's do a review of music videos podcast. We just watch music videos, maybe drink a little bit. Just
a little.
Do a little commentary.
That would be fucking hysterical.
No, I think we need to do more of these, like, let us know. Let us know if you like more of these, like, interactive podcasts. There's a lot of stuff we could talk about.
We got a lot of data here.
Yeah.
Such a little data point. But really, like, I loved, like, this is where you learn about people and, like, what they are interested in and what they're not interested in. Yeah. And this was so fun. So we really hope that there was some, educational points to this, which I think that there were. But I do think this was also just very fun. So yeah, let us know if you want more. But for more real educational information, you can visit teamlocofit.com. If you sign up for our newsletter, we have a lot of great stuff coming out there every single week. You can join our Facebook group, which is also going to be linked in the show notes. You can apply for coaching and, of course, send us an email on there as well. So thank you guys so much, and we'll talk to you next time.
Bye.